Good morning and welcome to Happy Trails Hiking. On this station, you will find content about park travel as well as living a healthy lifestyle. If you're interested in those sorts of things, I would invite you to subscribe. My name is Kay and this is the Healthy Lifestyle Show. On this show, I want to offer you the encouragement to live the life that you love. This is Travel Tuesday and we have a special guest for you today. Our show is brought to you by our photography store. You can get our photos printed on various things like mugs, pillows, posters, or even canvas for your walls, like that one up there. You can find our photos at happytrailshiking.com/store. Good morning to everyone in the chat. It's good to see all of you today. Inspired John is here and he was first. He wanted to make sure we knew that. And Life on the Trail, Gary is, he's driving and listening. Per usual. Welcome, Gary. We're happy you're here. Lori Bryant is here, as well as Inspired John again. He was first, and now he says hello. Outdoor Nomad is here. Panic D is here. Gilbert Rod, it's good to see you. And within hiking distance, imagine that. They're in the room. Excellent. Perfect. Well, it's good to see everybody today. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest today before we get started. Evan and Alexandra and their son did a road trip through the Western U.S. visiting national parks and other natural wonders. They've hiked over 950 miles or 1,530 kilometers with their 3-year-old in 22 national parks between August of 2017 and March of 2019. And they keep on traveling and exploring. If you like hiking, nature, national parks, daydreaming, looking for your next adventure, or just curious about their road trip, make sure to click the links below and see what they're up to. These wonderful people are the creators of their brand within hiking distance. Alex and Evan, welcome so much. It's good to see you.
Hi, good morning, Kay. Hi, everyone. We're so excited.
Well, I'm glad you're excited. This is great. I'm excited to have you today. Desmond Stonders and Rachel Rawson have come into the room, and we have a splash raid in the making right here. Sounds like Timey Lives is sending us her audience again today. So that is very exciting. Did I miss anything in the introduction? Are you good?
This is us.
Excellent. What state are you based out of right now? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, we're in Idaho.
Idaho?
Yeah.
Excellent. Do you know the Idahonian, Kenny, the Idahonian? He hangs out with the Hike 365 Challenge. So.
Yes, I mean, I know him through his videos, but he's in Boise and we're north.
North of there. Okay. Excellent. Awesome. Hey, Brother Dune just came in. It's good to see you today. Thank you for coming. And Marty Screw, our Family Adventures, is here listening from the forklift, per usual. So, and Brother Dune's on a lunch break, but thank you all for being here. If you'll hit that thumbs up for our great guest today, I'll get started on my questions. If you in the chat have questions for Evan and Alexandra, please make sure to tag at Happy Trails Hiking, and I'll try to get those on for you. I'm getting an echo. Okay, maybe we'll be all right. What was your motivation for going on this road trip? That's my first question.
So our motivation was that we were living in Washington, D.C., and we were working the usual, hours and just working a lot. And when our son came in our life, we felt like we wanted to spend more time together, that we're not enjoying all the time that we could together. So that's something we started to think about. How could we spend more family time together? And Evan has always wanted to see the national parks in the West. And we thought about maybe doing a world trip first. We wanted to go to Chile and Australia. And then we thought, wait a minute, we have a 2-year-old and he needs a car seat and diapers and food and all that. We thought it was just a little challenging. And as most of you know, I'm French and I have a green card. So I was like, well, I have the green card, we have the car. Why don't we just visit the US? You've always wanted to see the US. Why don't we focus here? So then that was easier because then the car seat is in the car and, the food, and we know where to buy everything. So that was just much easier. And so, yeah, that was the motivation, just spending more time together and being in the middle of nature.
Yep.
Awesome. So Brother Dunn, I've been pronouncing it wrong all these years, says, yep, spend as much time as you can with the little ones. You guys do a great job at that. I got to hit up some provincial parks here in Canada. So I think all of us should road trip to Canada and just go visit Brother Dunn.
Let's do that.
Yep.
We're coming, Matthias.
There you go. We're coming. Hey, Outdoor Nomad is listening from his recliner, unlike the others listening from the forklift. And Deanna's Adventures is here. Hi, Shane and Deanna.
Hi.
And Blaze, for that matter. It's good to see you. And to Zombified has come in with our splash rate. Thank you for being here. It's awesome to see you today. All right. And Brother Dunn says we're always welcome. So, yeah, we'll head up there. Probably I can't get there till January, so there'll be lots of snow. But anyway. All right. So my second question, and for those of you who are just walking into the room today on our splash rate, this is within hiking distance, and it's Evan and Alexandra, and they have been traveling around the U.S. with their youngster, and they did it for 18 months on the road, I believe, if I'm right. But how long did you plan in advance for this trip?
Right. So like Alexandra was saying, we were in, Washington, D.C., and, we had an opportunity to come out west and, I can work remote. So we started planning about a year in advance, and we started booking accommodations, I guess, about 9 months in advance for some of them that, we knew that would be busy. So like Yellowstone was our first national park that we visited. So it was quite a bit in advance. And then as we got as we continued with the road trip, we got more familiar on how we were going to do our accommodations and everything like that. So it ended up being, a lot more narrow as we got toward the end. We could be more flexible in where we went. So it's just maybe even a couple weeks less than in advance. But at the beginning, it was quite the planning.
Cool. Yeah, there is. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We'll make it work. Rachel speaking French to you, Alex, by the way.
Bonjour. Bonjour, Rachel. Enchantée également.
Okay. And Inspired John saying the echo came and went and it's not too bad. So, well, I'll try to keep my voice down and maybe it won't echo too much. That's hard for this. Hard for me to keep my voice down. Brother Dunn says, have a great talk and day, everyone. Glad I was able to catch a little bit. Thank you very much for coming, Matthias.
Thank you.
All right. So number 3, traveling with a young one can be a challenge for some people on just day trips. Hey, I'm going to go over to this state park, or we're going to go to the zoo, or, whatever. What are some of the things that you can offer to other parents that might want to take a short trip even with their young child?
Be prepared. So have more than what you need. And I mean, if you stay in your country, then you can always buy on site, so don't get too much either. But make sure you have everything you need that is, for example, during the road trip in the car, I had a backpack in front of me. I was on the passenger seat often, and so I would have a backpack with all the snacks for our boy and water, and we had 1 million books in the car that took a lot of room, and all kind of games that can be played in the car, so that could keep him busy. And
right. So we had we had a live last week where we discussed traveling with a child, and we went through a lot of the tips. Like Alexandra has mentioned, be prepared with toys, food. We had a baby carrier that we would hike with a lot of times, so that was helpful. And that's full of food and toys and all that type of stuff. So we were. It takes a lot of work, but I think we made it through.
It's worth it, and you can start small. You shouldn't go on a long hike at first when you start. If you want to bring your kids out, you choose small trails that are maybe flat or that have like a really cool feature, like a waterfall or something, some wildlife, so that it can be a good experience with the child, and the child wants to go again because he saw something really fun, and he's like, okay, there might be more fun things to see. So that definitely, and that triggers a lot of conversation with your child. That's very interesting. They learn a lot about nature and life, and it's very, it's really good. There's really no downside on doing it.
Gotcha.
With your child.
I do want to say, Arizona was tourist. Hello. And that's you guys. DNS Adventures has a question. Has there ever been an adventure where you thought you weren't as prepared as you thought you were?
Let's see. Does anything come to mind?
I would say a couple, sometimes on some hikes where we would go, oh, it's definitely much cooler than what we thought. You start the hike and it's really warm, and then you get a little bit of elevation and suddenly it's really cold. So I think it would be more in that way. We would not be prepared, not maybe having the right layers, either being too hot or being too cold.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that was never an issue, but it's maybe like how strenuous the hike would be. So in Yosemite, I think we were trying to hike to Upper Yosemite Falls, and that was the only trail where we didn't actually make it up. But just I think the elevation gain on some of them, could be a bit strenuous, and that was a long trail. But so that'd probably be the only thing for me.
Yes, that was definitely one as well. But we never liked food or water. No, we were always prepared on that. But it would be more, temperature or what Evan mentioned. Because in Yosemite, a couple of times we couldn't park in front of the trailhead, so it added a mile or a little more to the trail. And if you're already doing a long hike, it kind of adds up just to add a mile at the end. So it's definitely in that way. Sometimes we were not prepared because we didn't know how it was going.
Gotcha. I think that's a wonderful answer. If anybody has questions in the chat for Alex and Evan from within hiking distance, please be sure to put them into the chat. Rachel's still practicing her French in the chat, just letting you know. She's been learning. She's excited about it. So my next question for you all is, you were together all the time for so many months. How do you handle personal time on a trip like this? I know Matt and I work on it when we're together all the time on our short road trips, but how did you all handle personal time like that?
Yeah, I don't know. We didn't have much, really. I mean, I would work during the day until, early afternoon. Alexandra would take the little one to, the library or, outside, during that time. And then starting in the afternoon, we would have a hike already planned where we would, drive to a park or national monument. And we'd be together for a few hours during the hike. And then we'd come back, have dinner, put the little one to bed. And then we would have, I guess, a couple hours of personal time where we could do our own stuff. But that was pretty much the day and or the routine, unless you have anything to add.
Oh, yes, you actually, it's difficult to get personal time because you're always together, and we were taking, sometimes we were taking staying a month somewhere, so maybe it would allow us to maybe have a little more personal time. But if you go from 1 week to somewhere else the next week, then it gets difficult to get personal time, because that's actually not the focus. That was not the focus of our road trip. At least our road trip was to spend more time together, and personal time was, like Evan said, he was working, and I would take our son out in libraries or at the playground or museum, whatever was around, and that could get him excited. And but no, we didn't have much time. Sometimes it was a little difficult to not have personal time. it's not always easy, and it kind of forces you to communicate a lot more than you necessarily want to. So it's actually very good to practice communication.
I love it. Oh, I sound like a Darth Vader when I start talking, is what they say. Panic D says, great question. How are you not like, just leave me alone for a minute? So practicing communication is good advice there. So Gilbert Rod has a question, and it's a fantasy question. He says, Alex and Evan, if you could live in one national park, which national park would you live in?
I mean, for me, Yellowstone, just because it has everything. It has the landscape, it has the nature, wildlife, geological features. So, I mean, that park has everything you can imagine. But, we put together like a list where we would rank our parks from, first all the way down. So, I mean, there's so many great parks and each of them offer different things. But for me, it's Yellowstone.
Yes, it's difficult for me. It's hard because Yellowstone is really nice, but then there's so much snow during most of the year. I know you would love that. Evan actually saw an article about how there's one man in the park during the winter that closed the roads.
I don't know what the job was.
But he thought that was a dream job, and now it's like, okay, you can go on your own if you want. I'm not doing that.
Evan, Matt had the same thing. It's the guy who clears the snow off the tops of the roofs.
Yeah, I think that's right. You might have said the same article.
I want to do that, and I'm like, I'll miss you. No, I loved Yellowstone in the winter. That was my favorite trip to Yellowstone. Was when we got to go in the winter of 2014. Yeah, I think I'd divide my time between two. So I would be in Death Valley in the winter. So maybe from, late October until about mid-March. And then I'd go up to Yellowstone and Grand Teton and kind of live in that area. So
I like that.
Yeah. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but the Traveling Shintoist is here as well as the Creator Spotlight Show. And I guess I did mention that the Arizona Timeless Tourist is here, so that's excellent.
Oh, hi, Dean.
I know, isn't it fun to know all these people?
I know.
Okay. So my next question, and you people in the chat are going to have to start coming up with some questions because this is going way too fast. Anyway, or I have to come up with some really quick. What are your biggest takeaways from the trip that you took? So you took this trip, your motivation was to spend more time as a family. You were out in Washington, D.C., and then all of a sudden you got 18 months out west. What were your biggest takeaways from those?
I mean, if I can start off, I guess. So yeah, for me, it's just putting in that passion for hiking and, being outdoors and just reiterating, that part. That's a big part now, even after we have done our travels. I've been to Glacier National Park in June. I just got back from North Cascades National Park. Just spent 4 days there. Just got back on Sunday. We camp at the state parks around here in Idaho, and that's still a big part of our lives. So I think it's just something we're more passionate about. That came out of that trip. Is there? Yeah.
Yes, and definitely, I think we definitely found a more work-life balance, I want to say. So yes, we're going to work because I now work part-time as well, but then we go out. We're not happy if we're 5 days a week inside the house. We would go crazy. So we need to go outside, and even if it's just a park or something, it's just
cool.
We just need that fresh air. And
yeah, I think our little one also has a greater appreciation for nature and the outdoors. He knows, every animal that we've seen in the parks. Going through the junior ranger programs have been fun for him. I think, he gained a lot of, experience and knowledge from doing that as well.
Yeah, it's really impressive how much they take on. I mean, you think that it doesn't. I mean, he was really young when we started. It was two and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see him, I mean, he loved the bisons, and of course, Yellowstone was absolutely amazing, and all the other parks too were really fun. He couldn't really talk so much because of he was still
Little.
making his way into language, and so it was great when he suddenly started to talk that we could see he was really taking it all in, and it was just amazing to see how much he fell in love with all this, and he totally takes it for granted. Like nature has to be part of it. Going camping is normal. He asks when we go, can we go camping, or is it's just part of a normal way for him to live.
That's really cool. We've had some come in, and I wanted to say hello to Helene, I guess, from Quebec. And I'm really bad at names, but saying hello to you.
Bonjour, Serge. Serge et Hélène.
Nice. Yeah, see? There we go. That's why I have Alexandra around. Outdoor Nomad wants to know, everyone talks about the best part of the trip. What was your worst part? Ooh.
For me, maybe, I don't know, the car breakdowns. We had a couple of them. So there's one time we had to rent a car for 2 weeks while the transmission, we got a new transmission because it blew out near Zion National Park. So I think just those hiccups, and even before that, we had some issues with the car. It has a lot of miles, but I guess just that maintenance or stuff you have to worry about along the way, because you're in a lot of remote places. You don't want to get stranded in Death Valley or any of these other national parks that are pretty remote. So I don't know if the car starts making noises, then and it usually does. It's old. I don't know, just another thing to worry about.
Yes, when the transmission died, that was definitely a big deal because we were going to move from one place to the other. Like we were just staying a week in Zion, and then we were going to go to Page, Arizona, and I mean, we were helped. Like people helped us, and were wonderful. When the car broke down, people. The manager from the hotel we're staying in was driving by, and some people were helping us getting the car towed, and even lended us a car for the day so we could still go and see Zion, even though our car was completely out of commission and we didn't have a rental yet. So that was really, really nice.
So it wasn't as bad as it could have been. We both times we broke down, it was on a Sunday, so of course everything's closed on Sundays, or auto shops are closed.
Right.
Yeah. Any other worst parts of the trip?
No. The rest was fine, and
So a little bit of stress, but anything off. Yeah. I do want to say hello to DIY Solar and Homestead and Justin and Christina's RV and Van Life, as well as Food Forest Permaculture, who came in. DIY Solar Homestead asked, have you traveled in Europe? And so as a family, did you do a lot of traveling when you were over in France, Alex?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, we did. Yes, we did. Yes, we stayed back in spring. We stayed for 2 months in France, mostly near my mom's, near my family. But we also went to Switzerland and went to see some friends. And we always enjoy to take a trip and go see something. So we actually have a couple of videos on our YouTube channel of Chamonix and in France, and we have the Gruyere Castle in Switzerland. But we've always taken our son on trips. Even when he was a baby, we took him to Mer de Glace in Chamonix, which is you have to take a little train and you see this. I don't know how you would explain that.
Yeah, we've been a couple times already to Europe, just mostly to visit family, but when we're there, we do some traveling as well.
We always do, and we take our son with us. I think just twice we took trips without him. Maybe once when we went to Banff, we didn't take him.
Yeah.
That was probably the only trip we didn't, because he was really, really little. It was not even.
We do have some some great ones. Have you ever thought of traveling via RV rather than staying at hotels and Airbnbs? And that question is from DNS Adventures.
Yes, we had thought about that, but just the nature of my work, I need a internet that's reliable. So, and I need that, all the time, I guess, during the day. So staying in hotels and Airbnbs just seemed like a better option. And then also, there's a couple things. So definitely the internet was number one. Having that reliable internet. Staying in an RV and camper would probably have been more economical. And then the second would be that we have, the two of us and a son in a small, RV or camper. I don't know how sane we would be after a few months of doing that. So
I hear that.
Because, especially with me working, I need, I'm on the phone a lot. I need to have some quiet time. So just having a bigger space would have been a lot better, was a lot better. But, that's definitely something that we definitely considered.
Sure. The Outdoor Nomad is interested to know if there's a national park that you wouldn't go back to visit. You just didn't like it. Are there any that you visited that you just are like, maybe not?
No. I mean, our first experience in Zion was not so much. We visited on Thanksgiving week. And that was when you're on the road all the time, you just can't choose when the holidays come by. So you just went with the flow, and it was just so crowded. We just didn't expect it to be like that. There were a lot of road works, so it would take us 2 hours door to door from the moment we would leave the hotel and the moment we would start our hike. And that was a big pain. And leaving the park as well, it took us an hour and a half one night to just leave the park, exit. I don't know, what was it, 20 miles? Not even. It was just awful. So we thought we would never go back just because it was so crowded. And but then when we planned the third leg of our trip, it was January, and we're like, okay, we'll just give it another shot. And it was worth it.
Yes. So I guess if you miss the holidays and the busy season, then like January, there's hardly anybody. I mean, I guess that there's still the government shutdown going on, but we were able to grab a hotel just in Springdale, just outside the park. So just a couple minute drive. There weren't, we could find parking. You could drive through the park. You didn't have to take the shuttle bus, which was, a big plus. And the weather wasn't too bad. It was rainy, but some days, but it wasn't too bad overall. So I definitely recommend, January. We had a good time there the second time.
Awesome.
Yep.
I'm showing your website. Some of you might be interested in that, and that's withinhikingdistance.com. And that's not in the links below, but I'll make sure I amend that when the show is over with. Marty's crew has a question. He changes from one forklift to the other, he says. Do you guys plan to travel in the Midwest anytime in the future? By the way, I'd like to talk to you about that after the show. So what are your next travel plans? I guess would be a good question for that.
Yes,
we're going to go to Montana
for a long weekend. In a couple weeks, and then in November we'll go to the Oregon coast for, I guess, 10 days. And
But no trip planned in the Midwest so far right now. Sorry, Marty. We'd love to see you.
We'll work on it. The traveler was interested to know if there was a state that you enjoyed traveling in the most. So of the states you were in, which one did you enjoy traveling in?
Want me to start off? So for me, Utah was my favorite state traveling, just because it has it's great for outdoors. If Utah everywhere, Park City, there's a lot of trails, and it's just a beautiful city up there. And then next to, you have the 5 national parks, a lot of great state parks like Goblin Valley, Snow Canyon. It's just, wonderful for outdoors adventures. So, that was my favorite.
I think it was too. Yes, like you mentioned, there's so much to see. I think there are over 30 state parks. There are national monuments, the Mighty Five. So it's really, yes. And I like that it was warm most of the time. I'm more into warmer weather than you are.
Yeah, it does stay warmer the longer. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, very last question, because, our time is up. Thank you for joining me today. And I know that you've been doing live shows on your YouTube channel, and people should be subscribed and following along at this point. So if they've rung the bell and subscribed, when is your next live show, and what's the topic that we can be looking forward to?
You want to do that?
Yeah. So our next live is on Thursday. We're having lives on Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. And the next topic will be National Parks 101.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that one. And if you guys will hang out for just a second, I'm going to finish out the show. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been wonderful to actually get to talk to you and, introduce you to my community here. And hopefully they will share this out and introduce you to others of their community too. So
thank you so much, Kay. And thank you everyone in the chat for coming in and asking all those wonderful, great questions.
Thank you so much. I'll be right back with you guys. Hold on. All right, guys, thank you all for participating in the chat so much today. This has been a wonderful Travel Tuesday. Tomorrow, I will be back with you for a body weight workout for Workout Wednesday. Remember to go out and live the life you love today, and you are not replaceable. Thank you so much for joining me. See you later.